So if you ever find yourself alone in the office after midnight, and you hear the sound of typing from an unlit desk, don't look. Don't answer. And whatever you do, don't ask Elena for help. When the company introduced its newest hire, no one expected her to be so flawless. Her name was Elena. From the moment she stepped into the office, people noticed her. Not because she tried to stand out, if anything, she was unusually quiet, but because she seemed to belong instantly, as though she'd been working there for years. She navigated the computer systems without hesitation, greeted colleagues with soft nods, and completed tasks that typically took weeks in a matter of days. Her presence was unsettling. There was nothing wrong with her on the surface. Her hair was neatly kept, her clothes modest and professional, her smile polite. But there was something in her stillness, the way she seemed untouched by stress, that gnawed at people. The higher-ups adored her. She's a model employee, they said. Clients gushed over her emails. Male co-workers offered to take her out for drinks, but Elena only smiled and said she wasn't much for bars. But 3 women noticed something else. They had been at the company the longest, surviving not by skill, but by cutting others down. They had driven interns to tears, spread rumors until co-workers quit, and always found a way to stay on top without lifting much themselves. They thrived on control. And Elena's quiet perfection cracked that control like glass. There was something about her they couldn't tolerate, the way she never flinched at their whispers, never bent under the pressure of their stares. The more untouchable she seemed, the more they needed to tear her down. So, they made a plan. They would break her. It started subtly, the way all cruelty does. Elena, could you just handle this one report for me? You're so quick at these. Elena, I'll owe you if you stay late tonight. This deadline is impossible. Elena, you're single, right? You don't mind covering my shift tomorrow, do you? Every time, Elena replied the same way. Calm, quiet, polite. Of course. I don't mind. Her voice never trembled. Her smile never shifted. Soon her desk became a graveyard of abandoned work, reports, unfinished projects, emails left unanswered by those who handed them off. Folders piled higher each day, yet Elena never raised her voice, never once complained. She simply stayed later and later into the night, long after the others had gone home. At first, her endless compliance irritated them. They wanted her to fight back, to snap in frustration so they could laugh about her finally cracking. But she never did. Instead, her silence grew oppressive. The office felt heavier when she was around, like the air itself slowed. Colleagues who once praised her began lowering their voices when speaking near her, glancing away too quickly if she looked at them for too long. The 3 women began to notice strange details. How Elena never seemed tired, no matter how late she stayed. How she was always at her desk first in the morning, even before the janitor. How she sometimes sat in perfect stillness, staring at her screen without typing, as if waiting. One evening, when the last of the employees were leaving, they passed her desk. The overhead lights flickered once, plunging the office into a dim half-darkness. And Elena didn't move. She sat there, head tilted slightly, lips curved in that same small smile. It wasn't exhaustion. It wasn't patience. It was something else. Something they couldn't name. And that, more than anything, began to frighten them. The office was nearly empty. The hum of the vending machine and the low whine of the air conditioner were the only sounds left. 2 of the women lingered, pretending to work, but really waiting. They wanted to see it, Elena's mask finally cracking. They wanted to watch her curse under her breath or slam a fist against her desk. But Elena never did. Instead, when the lights dimmed to the building's night cycle, they saw her still seated at her desk, motionless for a long time, as though she'd forgotten how to move. Then, without turning the monitor on, without even the faintest glow from the screen, her hands began to type. The sound was unnerving, sharp, deliberate clacks echoing through the hushed office. Each keystroke felt heavier than it should have been, echoing far too loudly in the dark. They leaned closer to the glass wall, trying to see her face. But Elena didn't look human in that light. Her features were swallowed by shadow, her hair falling like a dark veil, her pale hands moving with eerie precision across a dead keyboard. One of the women swallowed hard. Is her screen even on?" she whispered. Then, As if answering, Elena suddenly stopped typing and lifted her head. Her face was wrong. Her skin too pale under the dim light, her eyes too dark, too empty, like pits carved into her skull. They didn't shine. They didn't catch even the faintest flicker of light. They stared too long, and it felt like falling. Panicked, they stumbled back, bumping into each other as nervous laughter spilled out, high-pitched, fragile, false. They left quickly, heels clicking too loudly in the hall, forcing themselves not to look back. But that night, both of them lay awake in their beds, unable to sleep. Because the silence of their apartments wasn't truly silent. It was broken by a sound, soft, steady, impossible to escape. The faint clacking of phantom keys. It didn't stop there. The first woman left work one evening, driving home through a quiet road. When she pressed the brakes at a red light, the pedal sank uselessly beneath her foot. Her car screeched through the intersection, narrowly missing a truck before skidding into a pole. She survived, bruised and bleeding. But when the mechanic examined the car, he said the brake lines had been cut clean through. Not frayed. Not broken. Cut. The second woman woke one night choking on a smell so pungent it burned her throat. She flicked on the lights and gagged. Her entire apartment reeked of soil, wet, sour earth. It clung to the floor, in piles and smears, as if someone had been digging inside her living room. Her hands shook as she followed the trail to her bedroom, where she found her bed covered in dirt. She pulled back the blankets and screamed. Underneath the sheets, packed neatly in the shape of a body, was more soil. Freshly turned. Damp. Waiting. The third thought she was safe. She told herself the others were exaggerating, that Elena was just a strange girl with a strange effect on people. But one morning she opened her laptop and froze. Her desktop was covered in new folders, dozens, then hundreds. All of them titled with her full name. Hands trembling, she opened one. Inside were hundreds of documents. Each file contained only a single line, repeated again and again, filling the page until the text blurred together. You pushed me. You pushed me. You pushed me. Her stomach dropped as she realized every folder was the same. The cursor on the screen blinked, waiting. And then, before her eyes, a new file appeared. It was titled with today's date. And inside it, in fresh black letters. I'm coming. The three women began to whisper to each other in desperation, their voices low, shaking. Because they all remembered. They had tried to bury it, deep in their memory, but it clawed its way back now. That night. That rooftop. That scream. And Elena's body hitting the ground. Back in college, there had been a rooftop party, one of those chaotic nights where music blared from cheap speakers and alcohol sloshed in red cups. The air was sharp and cool, the stars smothered by city lights, and laughter rang out over the edge of the building. Elena had been there, though no one knew why. She never drank. She never partied. She had been standing at the far end of the roof, hands clasped in front of her, as though she were only waiting for the night to end. That was what made her so easy to target. Loosen up, one of the women had sneered, staggering toward her. What are you even doing here? You don't belong, another added, pushing closer. Don't be so uptight, Elena. Don't act like you're better than us, the third hissed, her words sharpened by envy and alcohol. They circled her like vultures, laughing louder with each insult, their voices slurred but cruelly clear. Elena had tried to edge away, shaking her head, whispering that she just wanted to go home. And then, one shove too far. The laughter stopped when Elena's scream tore through the air. A single, piercing sound that ended far too quickly, swallowed by the night. Then silence. Until the dull, sickening crack of a body striking pavement below. They rushed to the edge, pale and shaking, their laughter curdling into choked gasps. The sight below, Elena's twisted body bathed in red, burned itself into their memories. The investigation called it a tragic accident. No witnesses could prove otherwise. They stuck to their story, she had been drinking, she slipped, it was no one's fault. But deep down, they all knew. They promised each other never to speak of it again. And yet, Elena had never left them. The first to vanish was the loudest of the three, the one who had laughed the hardest that night on the roof. She stayed late at the office one evening, too nervous to go home. When she didn't show up the next day, or the day after, security began searching the building. They found her crumpled at the bottom of a stairwell. Her limbs were bent at impossible angles, her mouth frozen mid-scream, her eyes wide with the terror of something she had seen in her last moment. The footage from the stairwell cameras was worse. It showed her walking alone, until the lights flickered. For 3 frames, the hallway went black. When the light returned, a woman was standing behind her, smiling faintly. And then the screen went static. The second woman died more violently. She was at the train station, trying to leave the city. Witnesses said they saw her stumble, her body jerking forward onto the tracks as the train bore down. Some swore she had been pushed, though Northwest One was close enough to touch her. But the station footage told a different story. It showed her standing on the platform, shaking, clutching her phone. A tall figure appeared behind her, dark hair, polite smile, eyes like hollow pits. A woman. And then the push. The train's lights flared. The screams drowned out everything. The third tried to escape altogether. She locked herself in her apartment, covered the mirrors, boarded the windows. She refused to leave, convinced she could shut Elena out if she never looked at her reflection, if she never set foot outside. Days later, neighbors complained of a smell. When police broke the door down, they found her inside. Every mirror in the apartment was shattered. The glass littered the floor like ice. The walls were covered in writing, smeared in black strokes of something too thick to be ink. Over and over, the same words. You owe me. You owe me. You owe me. And at the center of the room, the woman's body sat slumped in a chair, her face pale and streaked with tears. Her eyes had been gouged out, sockets empty, her mouth stretched unnaturally wide in a final, silent scream. On the wall behind her, written larger than all the rest, were the words. Debt paid. Elena still works there. Always cheerful. Always helpful. Always perfect. The managers praise her endlessly, though none can quite recall when she was hired. New employees are drawn to her, her gentle smile, her patient tone, the way she always seems to know the answers before anyone else. She helps them with their systems, shows them the little tricks, stays late when they need it. She's the best coworker you'll ever have, they say. But when the office grows quiet, when the fluorescent lights flicker and most desks are empty, her presence changes. The air thickens. The shadows seem heavier. And if you linger too long, you might hear it, the sound of typing in the dark, steady and patient, even though her monitor isn't on. Some say she never leaves the building. That no one's ever seen her step outside, not once. Others whisper that if you stay late enough, you'll see her reflection in the black screen of your computer, even if she's not standing behind you. There are rumors about the 3 women who used to work there, the ones who vanished, one after another. No one talks about them openly, but people notice how Elena avoids their empty desks, as if waiting for someone to sit there again. The janitors claim they sometimes find muddy footprints in the stairwell, leading upward, though no one is there. Security guards swear they see her on cameras long after the building has emptied out, sitting in the dark with her head tilted, smiling faintly at something only she can see. And yet, every morning, there she is, bright, polite, perfect Elena. But the legend has one warning. One that spreads quietly, passed from veteran employees to new hires like a prayer. Never, ever give her your work. Because if you do, she'll take it. She'll finish it beautifully, flawlessly. But she won't forget. And one night, when the office is dark and the halls are empty, you might look up from your desk and see her standing too close. Smiling that same soft smile. Waiting for you to say the words. Of course. I don't mind. And that's when she owns you.